This morning, we will hear from Mary Powell and Irene Keller, who will share some of what they have learned from the organization Braver Angels. We'll begin with this video titled All That We Share, produced in Denmark, but concerning issues that know no boundaries.
It's easy to put people in boxes. There's us, and there's them. The high earners, and those just getting by. Those we trust, and those we try to avoid. There's the new Danes, and those who've always been here. The people from the countryside, and those who've never seen a cow. The religious, and the self-confident. There are those we share something with, and those we don't share anything with.
Velkommen. Jeg kommer til at stille jer nogle spørgsmål i dag. Nogle af dem kan godt være lidt personlige, men jeg håber, I vil svare ærligt på dem. Hvem herinde i rummet var klassens klovn? Hvem er bonusforældre?
And then suddenly, there's us. We who believe in life after death. We who've seen UFOs. And all of us who love to dance. We who've been bullied. And we who've bullied others. And then there's us, the lucky ones who've had sex this past week. We who are broken-hearted. We who are madly in love. We who feel lonely. We who are bisexual. And we who acknowledge the courage of others. We who have found the meaning of life. And we who have saved lives. And then there's all of us who just love Denmark. So maybe there's more that brings us together than we think. TV2 Denmark. All that we share.
Good morning. I'm Mary Powell, and I'll be sharing the speaker spot today with Irene Keller. And we're here to tell you about an experience that has changed both of us. Last year, about this time, feeling concerned, frustrated, angry, and a bit hopeless in the face of the political climate we were seeing, not just in our country, but in our county, in our city. Irene and I decided, at my daughter's suggestion, to look into a group called Braver Angels. Now, Braver Angels has a lofty name, almost an awkward name, and they have a very lofty purpose too. Let me read you their stated purpose: to restore the bonds of community and refresh the fabric of democracy by embracing our conflicts in good faith. Well, we were immediately drawn to this group, in large part by its reflection of Unitarian principles. I'm going to offer some of the nuts and bolts of the organization, and Irene will share a more personal reaction following me. So Braver Angels set out in the troubled days after Donald Trump's election in 2016 in an effort to see if Americans could still disagree respectfully and just maybe find common ground. Many said it wasn't likely, but Braver Angels have proven their skeptics wrong. They've become a successful and growing movement, reaching into the halls of Congress, where co-founder Professor Bill Doherty recently testified before a select committee on the modernization of Congress. Braver Angels' approach is carefully structured with rules and often with a moderator. It uses marriage counseling techniques to guide basically political discussions in a controlled setting. So there are two major rules. One, you must listen to the other person on the other side. You must listen carefully, so carefully that you can reflect back to them what you believe you heard. Now, once that is established and agreed on between the two of you that you heard what they were saying, then it's your turn to speak your truth. And you do so with no criticism of the other position and with no attempt, no expectation to change the other's mind. So after being involved with their programs, observing debates, listening to podcasts, and participating in workshops, I found myself surprised, even amazed at the change in my point of view. The process and philosophy emphasizes the worth and dignity of every person, our first Unitarian principle, and frankly, one I have been having a hard time following. It's been a journey of understanding for me, a very meaningful one that's helped me see the polarizer in myself and to try and counteract that. I think Irene and I agree that we found this perspective replaces the anger we were feeling with a sense of hopefulness. In a fascinating TED Talk titled The Moral Roots of Liberals and Conservatives, psychologist Jonathan Haidt provides research to support his theory that humans are born with the foundations of morality. So you will see, well, let me say this. Haidt theorizes that we are organized to the moral mind in advance of experience. You'll see here 5 factors he's isolated in the very young and has determined to be part of the human psyche. Socialization places us on different levels of each of the 5 points. You'll see there here that, well, we've got Democrats and Republicans. I was going to say you'll see here that liberals, which I would say covers the majority of us here today, that people with liberal views rate very high on points 1 and 2. It's really important to us that people care about each other and do not harm each other. And it's also very important to us, the second point, fairness or justice. We're big on justice, and we want to see the golden rule and, in practice and in society. Whereas conservatives rate higher on the bottom 3. It's really important to them. Loyalty, authority, respect for authority, sanctity, those are more important to him, but the conservatives are also more evenly spread through the 5 points. Depending on our life experiences, we will find ourselves on one side or another of almost any issue. But the question is, does it have to be a war? Ancient religions have long addressed the idea of conflict as a balance. consider the classic concept of yin and yang. Now, when I talk to my friends and family about braver angels, I get two reactions. One of them is nodded agreement. Yes, yes, polarization is a terrible thing. And I see it in old-time friends, I see it in family, I see it in the halls of Congress, I see it everywhere. It's tearing us apart. It's terrible. And then I get controlled. They're just not quite ready for this, you know. I've talked to those people. I try and talk to those people, and I'll tell you, I don't know where they're coming from. I don't get them, and they won't listen to me. So I've just about decided that the best thing to do is just not to try and not to talk politics to the other side. Well, I have been there. I've said those words. I've thought those thoughts. But I'm here to tell you that Braver Angels has convinced me that in discussing issues, we can create a culture of patriotic empathy where love of country or love of democracy can translate into respect for our neighbors, no matter how crazy or strange or difficult they may seem. This isn't just about depolarizing politics. It's about reimagining what it means to be an American. So it's called Braver Angels because it takes courage to step away from our own tribe and seek unity with the opposition. Here's the comforting thought. Engaging with another perspective is not abandoning your own. Braver Angels suggests we learn to tell a story that includes everybody. We begin with a desire to understand the other. We start with goodwill. We turn the opposition into friends whenever possible. And that's one of the amazing things you see in this group dynamic. You see people at opposite poles becoming friends, really good friends. So Braver Angels is only one of many, many groups working to find cooperative approaches to polarization. There's a website at Columbia University that offers 24 pages, hundreds of US organizations, networks, and resources devoted to creating positive change by working to reduce the negative effects of political polarization. So in my mind, the problem is too big to be ignored and too disturbing to give up on. I know that many of you have participated in groups whose purpose it is to bring people together. And in your UU update earlier this week, Jan put a number of resources for Braver Angels. And space allowing, she'll repeat this in next month's newsletter. And we'll include that Columbia website too. If the Braver Angels approach isn't for you, we hope that you'll explore other ways to light a candle in this darkness of social distrust and work toward our 6th UU principle, which is also very lofty, the goal of world community.
I'm going to share my walk on the Braver Angels path. For too long, I couldn't recognize how I was part of the deepening political chasm of the US. After all, as a Facebooker, I didn't practice the copy and paste those simple, emotional, political cliches that went on for months. I didn't, And don't watch Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, because for me, they offer mainly political commentary that only helps promote the fracturing of America. However, among my families and friends, I have grumbled about the opinions of they, the other political side, as well as feel disgust for some politicians. Then, after listening to Braver Angels' presentations, the light bulb finally clicked on, making me aware that I have been guilty of making assumptions about the other side, creating stereotypes, then silently and not so silently declaring their stupidity and gullibility of believing or supporting one of their points for which I disagreed. Likewise, I began to understand that I, guilty of hateful stereotyping, needed to pay more attention to what Braver Angels had to say. I had finally realized I was and am part of the political rancor of America. And as Mary has, I too have listened to various Braver Angels debates and podcasts, leading me to apply the importance of listening to political points of views. Now, I've always known the value of listening, but I hadn't used that skill well when it comes to certain political arguments. Instead, I had and have resorted to my ears automatically closing. But thanks to Braver Angels, I have also come to understand listening does not equate with agreement. And I began asking myself, what is my life's narrative? And what might the other narratives be in order to lead to our different values and beliefs? Example, as a feminist, believing that a woman's body is not for political debate, and knowing the history of dark alley abortions, I support the long-awaited Roe versus Wade ruling. Recently, I learned that Abbott and his wife are devout Catholics and adopted their only daughter, leading to their views being opposite of mine. I respect their stance, but not Abbott's political decision about restrictive abortion that applies to all. Perhaps my simple example can minimally indicate the complexity of narrative differences that influence personal politics. Now, we all know societies and groups and individuals are complex, leading to a significant point from Braver Angels. The other do not believe in points in a stereotypical, intense way, just as the side which I lean into does not either. And one reason I intensely value UUs of New Braunfels is the freedom to acknowledge the merit of diverse thinkers, which I have been guilty of not realizing that the same can be applied to the political sector of society. Extending that realization, I had a civil political discussion with a local New Braunfels Republican. We made comments like, we agree with that point. We somewhat agreed with certain points. And with cordiality, well, I can't agree with your take on that issue. As we ended our conversation, we felt good because there was no animosity between us. Now, I would never have thought of approaching such a chat if I had not listened to Braver Angels talks and workshops. And the same New Braunfels Republican contacted Braver Angels of Central Texas after our discussion to request a guest speaker for a prominent local organization with mostly Republicans. And after the presentation, Republicans signed up for more information about Braver Angels. Thus, there are those who lean toward the red who are also concerned about the extremes of American politics. By being involved in Braver Angels, I also have grasped, because we all want and need to belong to a community, individuals on either side of the aisle often dare not voice any differences with their tribe's thinking. Challenging one's groups with its long tradition of political beliefs can be difficult for most. But perhaps more importantly, taking a slightly different stance from one's political tribe, whom one cares about, can lead to a sense of isolation, which can be painful. Across this nation, there have been thousands of Braver Angels workshops to help depolarize liberals and conservatives, to reteach how to listen and how to have civil conversations once again. And through my involvement with Braver Angels, I have discovered that there are many on both political sides who wish to bring Americans back to the center where listening is needed for respectful discourse, resulting in solutions that can be accepted in a democratic way. But being honest, I'm sure I will carelessly be part of the political polarization problem now and then, but I am trying hard to be part of the solution for reuniting America. There is a movement to reunite America, and I wish to be part of that movement. I also reminded myself that one of my most respected caregivers for my mother when she was living with Alzheimer's is part of the opposite political side. And yet, my love for her is unconditional. She exemplified for me how to be more compassionate and loving for those who have Alzheimer's. I learned much from her, and we had no time for political differences. I also know my dentist, doctor, and many selfless volunteers in New Braunfels are not blues like me. I have reminded myself that one's political stance is only part of the whole person, and I have let the anger in politics blur my sensibility that each person is more than his or her political views. Now, Mary and I know we are Braver Angels works in progress, still stumbling along the way to being more compassionate when it comes to the other. The people to whom we have listened within the Braver Angel venues have indirectly influenced us to be better Unitarian Universalists, as in working to acknowledge the inherent worth in others and be responsible for truth and for peace. We see it as another avenue of spiritual growth.